Hi and welcome to The Download. Today we're blessed to have Zrinka Lovrencic with us. Zrinka is the Managing Director of Great Places to Work. Not only that, but Zrinka is also an MBA graduate and was a New South Wales finalist in the Telstra Women's Business Awards. So Zrinka, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. So tell us a little bit about your role at Great Places to Work.
Yeah, so for the last 6.5 years, I have been a Managing Director of Great Place to Work. I actually joined Great Place to Work 10 years ago, and I started out as a consultant. I was, in fact, the first employee in Australia.
So you've worked your way up from the bottom through?
Yeah, so
I guess when you were the first employee, you were the Managing Director then, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't quite. But Great Place to Work has a unique makeup. We are present in over 50 countries, so we're affiliates. And therefore, 10 years ago, somebody I knew started Great Place to Work in Australia, and I joined the team because I thought it was such a novel concept that, there's companies out there that people like going to work to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because I was an accountant in my previous life. I didn't believe it.
So was I, but don't tell me.
Okay. We're in good company, yeah. That's probably why you like our Excel spreadsheets of results.
There you go.
And then after 3 years of being a consultant, the opportunity came up to buy the business from my previous boss. And hence how I became the Managing Director.
Fantastic. So tell me, why are you passionate about workplace culture?
It's a win-win situation. Your first instinct is to say that it's the right thing to do, to be nice to people. However, the right thing to do isn't necessarily what everyone believes is the most important thing. However, by engaging employees and by having an environment where people truly believe in what the company is trying to achieve and they understand the role that they play in that, it also benefits the bottom line for the organisation. And at the end of the day, we're doing something great for the shareholders as well as the employees. It's not hard to be inspired by that work.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about the Great Places to Work study.
Yeah, so back in 1997, so our company was actually started in the early 80s in San Francisco. And we have always been into transformation work. So we help companies transform into better workplace cultures and so on. 20 years ago, Fortune magazine approached Great Place to Work and asked if they could do an annual list of best companies to work for. Hence how our list started. And now we produce that list in over 50 countries around the world.
Fantastic.
It's a really great way to peek into some of the best performing organisations and share that with the wider community. Hopefully inspire them to make a change in their company as well.
Yeah, okay. So tell me about sort of 3 of your biggest accomplishments.
It's actually hard to narrow it down to 3.
Okay,
because,
that's great.
Having gone through the Telstra business nomination process, it made me stop and think about everything that I had achieved. As a business owner, you just keep on going. You achieve one thing and it's like, great, tick it, go to the next thing.
For sure.
And this was really an opportunity to sit back and look at everything that we had accomplished in that time. Every day I walk into the office, I'm incredibly proud of my team, of everything they have achieved. We celebrate a lot of things. We celebrate all the milestones you could think of, whether they're financial or talent acquisition or personal achievements in everyone's role. So I'm incredibly proud of the work that we do. And also when we go to our clients and we see the difference it has made to people on a personal level, when individuals come up to us and say, my manager has made all these changes and I just enjoy coming to work so much more now, that makes me really proud as well.
All right, so it's not just a study then, it's actually working with organisations around that to help them become better as well.
That's right, yes.
Okay, and you mentioned a word that's really important to us at Insentra. I mean, celebration is one of our key values, and I think a lot of people lose sight of the not even the need, but the benefit of just stopping and smelling the roses.
Yeah.
Even the small things and just celebrating the wins. It's such an important thing.
Yeah, and you are in an industry that is facing negative unemployment.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make the time to stop and reflect on what you have done because you're constantly behind schedule, behind time, don't have enough hands on deck. So it is really important to sit back and help your team understand that they've done a great job, that it's appreciated. you want to use that as a motivation tool as well to help them do it again.
I think you say something that I find really important, which is you make the time.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have the time for that." It's like, yeah, you do, because if it was important enough to you, you'd make the time.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. So, tell me, what does success look like for you? You know, what's the finish line for Zrinka?
Finish line, not so much, because I get asked a lot, you know, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
And I honestly can't imagine doing anything else than being a great place to work, hopefully for another 10 years.
Fantastic.
But success to me is really walking into the workplace every day, waking up happy and looking forward to going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in a situation many times where I've woken up and not wanted to go to work. In previous companies, not here.
Well, I always say to people, right, if you wake up in the morning and you decide you don't want to go to work, decide whether it's the workplace or the role.
That's right. Or if you're, you know, going, thank God it's Friday, or yay, Wednesday, hump day, I'm halfway through the week. If you're working for the weekend, you're probably not in the right role.
Couldn't agree with you more. So, Zrinka, I mean, we met as a result of Great Places to Work when Insentra came 8th last year. And one of the questions I asked you then is a question I'm going to ask you again, because I think everybody would like to know. What are some of the common themes you see in Great Places to Work?
When we ask employees about why do you love working here, and same with employees at Insentra, why do you love working here, you'll never hear a response from great organisations. It's because of the pool table, or because of the food, or because I can come finish work and start work anytime. The most common response you will always get is people will say, I absolutely believe in what my company is doing and I want to be part of that success.
Right, so it's the vision, understanding the vision of a business.
It. And having a clear line of sight between what is it that I come here to do every day and the end goal.
Right. So am I contributing to that end goal of the company?
Yeah, and something bigger than just a task I perform every day. And that's really important. That fulfillment is incredibly important to people today. So that would be the most common thing. And creating that line of sight, it actually requires a lot of leadership at all levels, from senior leadership right down to the team leader. You need to be a coach for your employees. You need to be able to create the landscape, draw the map, and then coach everyone through it.
Okay. And are there other themes outside of, you know, working towards the same vision?
Definitely creating an environment where people can collaborate and work together. And that's very important for innovation to flourish as well.
Yeah.
And again, increases people's accountability in the workplace and feeling like they're part of the bigger solution. Creating opportunities for people to share ideas with their senior leadership as well. That two-way communication is incredibly important to strengthen the alignment. And also ensuring that there are fair processes in place to recognise good work.
Right.
And also have conversations when work's not so good.
So there's a lot of things that go into that.
There are a lot of things. So,
and a lot of that sort of more common, more new style of leadership, if you like.
Yeah.
You know, what do you say to the people who think that this is all just fluff?
I usually ask them, are they meeting their other KPIs? And the response is most often than not no.
Okay.
And that there are other deficiencies in the business coming through, and that is why they're talking to us in the first place. The world has changed.
Yeah.
We're employing a generation of employees in Australia that has never seen an economically hard time, that has grown up with access to education and access to information. And therefore we have to mould the organisation to suit that environment and to get the best out of it.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. There's just you often hear people say, oh, yeah, it's just fluff. It's, you know, and then you get the opposite side of that, which is the rhetoric that says, oh, yeah, my people are everything. Yeah. You know, my people are my number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, as an example, right? And we are a great place to work, as you know. I don't say that our people are my number one. Cash is my number one.
Yeah. Cash is king.
Cash is my number one. That's my number 1A.
Yeah.
My number 1 double A are our people.
Yeah.
And my number 2 are our clients. And people might think, oh, that's really odd. Why is the CEO saying that his number 2 is his clients, you know? And the reality is that the number 1 for our people are our clients.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is, if I have cash, I have people. If I have the right people, I'll have clients. If I have happy clients, I'll have cash. And so too will it continue.
That's right.
Right. But the people thing is so important. And I see out there, and you obviously have so many more organisations that you work with, where it is rhetoric and people can feel that, right?
Absolutely. Well, when you think about it, professional services employs 72% of the workforce in Australia. It employs, it makes up for 70% of our GDP.
Wow.
It actually makes up for 70% of the global GDP as well. So we're right on par with those statistics. However, globally, it's growing at 1% per annum. It's in fact the fastest growing industry in the world. So when you think about it, the biggest resource we have these days is people.
It's people.
And their skills and their knowledge is not something that stays with your organisation when they leave. You don't retain that resource once it's gone. So if you're investing all this money into your resources, and by investment, you can look at salaries and expenditure around people, why wouldn't you want to maintain that? Right. Because if you were spending that on machines, you would service them.
Maintain them.
And you would maintain them.
What a fantastic point. And let's talk about that in the context of inspiring people. What do you think are the key things that inspire people who work in companies? And I try not to use the word employee because I just think it conjures up the wrong relationship in an organisation. It's like you are an employee. No, you're a member of the team.
Yep.
You're a part of the group. So what do you think it is that inspires people to do better and do more from what you've seen?
Feedback is very important. Everybody, well, maybe not everybody, most people show up at work every day thinking that they're doing the right thing and thinking that they're doing their best. It's not until somebody talks to you and says, and validates it for you and says, thank you, this is amazing work, that you truly start believing it. Also, when somebody approaches you and says, well, maybe we can do this better, maybe we can look at improving your performance, do you reflect and think, well, maybe there is a different way of doing this, maybe I can do better? So feedback's incredibly important, and a lot of organisations are getting rid of their clunky annual performance reviews because it is looking backwards at 12 months of performance, not forward.
Absolutely.
So having regular conversations with your team is important to inspire them. People love stories as well. Stories about their clients, stories about how their products have made a difference to the client's business, to the client's lives, and so on. So if you have an opportunity to bring your clients in and have them speak to your team members, it's a huge benefit. It really does inspire them to want to...
Yeah, they can hear what they're doing. And it comes back to that vision as well. I can see that what I've just done has had that impact on that organisation, which has then meant this can happen, and we did that, and it's all in accordance with where we're going. I totally agree with you there. And it's interesting you talk about feedback. I always say it in Insentra, I say feedback is a gift, right? Sometimes you get gifts you don't like.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
You might get socks at Christmas that you just don't like, right? So I think the feedback's really interesting, and a lot of organisations, I think, focus way too much on providing constructive feedback and not enough on that celebration that you were talking about before, and actually shouting out to people and calling out, you know what, you've done a great job. This is really excellent. And not only that, but letting the rest of their peers know the outstanding work they've done too. So giving them some acknowledgement. So I think you're right. Those things do definitely inspire. What are some of the things that you've seen? You've seen so many, 10 years, lots of analysis, lots of spreadsheets, comes back to your accounting days for you too, makes you happy. What are some of the trends you've seen in the IT industry as it relates to, cultures and across the industry?
It's quite interesting. 10 years ago, a lot of our clients on the best places to work list were financial institutions. And then the GFC came. And it was probably 50-50 finance and IT. And IT organisations survived and continued to grow. And I think IT organisations are almost the catalyst of where employee engagement is now. Because as an industry, they were the first to recognise that there was a shortage of talent. What are we going to do? It still is, yeah. But what are we going to do to retain the great employees that we have and the great team members? And what are we going to do to attract the best into our organisation? And it has been growing. And I really think that the IT industry have been a trendsetter. So a lot of the times, organisations will ring us and say, can you just tell us what are the 5 things Google does?
Can you give me the secret sauce, please?
Yeah, and there is no secret sauce. It's really understanding your organisation, where you want to take it, and who is required to be part of that team. And moving forward that way. So, attraction and retention is still a huge area of opportunity for most organizations in the technology space.
Yeah.
And really refining and capitalizing on bringing people on the journey is what will be required to guarantee success and continual growth.
Yeah, okay. So, look, people do ask you that, and I'm going to ask you it as well, right? What are some of the easy things that people can do in their organisation that will have a relatively immediate impact on their culture? And I think what's important when I ask you that question is, I always say culture starts at the top and it permeates and percolates from the bottom. Permeates within and percolates from the bottom, right? So, as I say, it's not going to be the secret sauce. It's not going to be, but what are some of the thematic things that you think can make the biggest difference?
Usually when you do an analysis, like a survey, there are some low-lying fruits there. And the most important thing to do is to have a conversation with your team to say, well, the overall organizational results have come back saying this. What does this look like for you? And what could be done differently to make this a better situation? And usually when your team members mark you down on an area, they know what good looks like. And they will be full of ideas of what can be done to improve the situation. Most organisations I go to, I love doing this exercise before the board meeting. I'll ask random people in the hallway, what are the 5 goals your organisation is working towards? Most people can answer that because it's continually repeated in communication. And then I'll say to them, how does your role contribute to those goals? And 80% of the time I get the response, oh no, it doesn't. The goals are the sales team's goals.
Okay.
Back
to what you were saying before, right? About
creating that line of sight between your role is vital to those goals. If it wasn't, it wouldn't exist. Yeah. But really that is probably the starting point, is defining what is it that your company is trying to achieve, and then start linking everyone to that story.
I think that's wonderful, a wonderful piece of advice. In terms of Great Places to Work, the survey runs annually. Do you as an organisation provide the opportunity to companies outside of the process, if you like, to become a great place to work, where you might still run the same surveys and deliver same results, etc., and outcomes, and help organisations do better? Is that how you do it?
Absolutely. And that's actually the core of our business.
Okay.
The studies a side project, you could say, once a year, where we get to interact with amazing organisations and use that to inspire us to make changes in the other organisations. So we do provide the same analysis. We do provide certification for organisations as well, the ones that aren't as lucky as Insentra to be on the list. So that's really our day-to-day job.
And you know what? I will stop you on that, and I'll say it's not luck. It's a lot of hard work. Right? And it is.
It is true.
It's hard work to make a great place to work, because you've got multiple personalities, all of whom want different things. But ultimately there's a consistency across everyone. Everyone wants to have a great place to work. They want somewhere with good people to work with. They want to enjoy what they're doing, etc. But it is hard work. Well, it's not hard work. Hard work, I think, is doing something you don't enjoy. Right? It's something that needs focus.
Yes, you're right. And if you focus on creating an environment where the team members are aligned to the vision and the goals and the mission, and act in the behaviours of the values that have been set by the organisation, your job as a manager will actually be easier as well.
Absolutely.
You won't have to continually put out fires.
Yeah. Well, you might. It's just you won't be doing it with gasoline, right?
That's right.
So, changing tack a little bit, at a global landscape perspective, and with the way things are changing, what do you think is going to be the requirements in the next couple of years, particularly as we're seeing more of the younger generation coming through who have different expectations and, like you say, have never lived through tough times generally, like tough economic times. What do you see in terms of the changes that are coming into the global landscape? What should businesses be looking to do?
I think we're at a really exciting junction, because we're almost going through we are in the middle of the 4th industrial revolution. Technology is playing a much bigger role in organisations. And there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of people are a little bit afraid. What does this mean for my job? How is my job changing? I think it's an incredibly exciting opportunity, because technology is going to take away the mundane tasks we don't necessarily enjoy doing, and allow us the opportunity to really work on clever things and exciting projects. I think it's something that the younger generation will catch on to quite quickly. I mean, young kids know how to use an iPad better than their parents these days. So I think it will suit them quite well. And a lot of transition and training will have to happen with the older generation of employees. And we have to think about, as the Australian economy, where do we shift our training? Where do we shift our education? How do we train our children to do jobs that don't exist yet?
Right.
Because they will exist by the time they're ready to go to work. So it's a really interesting time to take stock of the landscape and look at where our organisations are heading and how can we utilise technology to take care of the mundane tasks so our people can do the clever things.
For sure. So tell me, what do you want for the team that reports to you?
Oh, that's interesting. So
how do you inspire them? How do you make them be their best?
Yeah.
You are the great place to work at analysts, right? So
Yes.
you must be a great place to work.
Yeah.
Tell me some of what you guys do.
So I sometimes feel like I have the hardest job because through the study, my employees are exposed to amazing organisations. And every day I'm bombarded with ideas of, hey, this company does this, can we do this? And this company does that, and can we employ that? And I always say, sure, how does it align to our vision? And how does it align to our values? And if it does, we'll employ it. And if it doesn't, well, it aligns to that organisation.
Right.
So we're an incredibly mission-driven organisation. We truly believe that by transforming workplaces, we are able to transform society. You spend the best 9 hours of the day at work.
Yeah.
Why should you not enjoy it?
Absolutely. So what are sort of the top 3 lessons you've learnt personally as you've grown the business and as you've been working with organisations?
One is that you can't control everything. I have 23 people reporting to me, and I have to trust them that they are doing the right thing in their role and give them the freedom to do it.
Do you have 23 direct reports?
Yes.
How do you manage that?
Trusting them a lot.
Right.
Trusting them a lot.
You must run a very open culture then.
Absolutely.
I imagine, right? Open doors,
Yes.
constant communication. So it's not like they're reporting to you, they're working with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Everyone's got their tasks and, they do align. Everyone understands how everyone else's job impacts their own.
So the first one is can't control everything.
Can't control everything.
Okay.
Secondly, stressing about things doesn't make it better either. Going through that initial growth period of the business, and we were growing at 120% for the first 3 years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, after I took over, it's now steady at 70%. It feels
Steady
like
at 70% growth. My heart bleeds for you. What a wonderful statistic.
it feels like a holiday.
That's wonderful.
Compared to the start. And you go through a lot of stress. You stress about cash flow. You stress about some wrong choices you've made about bringing people on the team. And stressing about things isn't going to make a difference. So I've just taken a calm approach to things. Take a deep breath, go for a walk around the block, and then have a conversation with whoever the conversation needs to happen with. And thirdly is that it's so important for me, for my employees to be happy at work. They cannot tell other organisations you have to keep your team members happy unless they are themselves.
Absolutely.
So I have a very open book policy with everyone that, if you're upset about anything in the workplace, we can have an honest conversation. And even if it's about me, fine. And actually great if it's about me because it gives me an opportunity to correct something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wonderful. We call that at Insentra, we call it the pebble in the shoe.
Yeah.
Which is as soon as you get a little pebble in your shoe, come and talk to us about it before the pebble turns into a blister.
Absolutely.
And before the blister gets infected. And, and you're right, it doesn't matter who it's about. And you talk about stress isn't good, right? And it's great to say don't stress. The reality is, and as a CEO myself, you do stress.
Yeah.
Right, you do. What are some of the ways? You walk around the block, that's great. Do you meditate? Do you exercise? What are the strategies you have to combat that stress?
Yeah. So firstly, my house is a work-free zone.
Okay.
I don't even have a laptop at home.
Fantastic. So you switch off once you've left the office, that's it, you've switched off.
That's right. And also, it prevents me from taking things home and then saying, well, I'll just finish this at home because it never gets finished at home. By the time I make dinner, do the usual evening routine, it doesn't happen. So my rule is if it has to be done, I will stay in the office until it is done and then go home. Also on the weekends, I try to stay outdoors as much as possible because I'm stuck in an office all day, every day, Monday to Friday. Lots of exercise, I think, really helps to keep you focused, to have that in your routine. And you have to define for yourself, what does work-life balance look like for you? there are a lot of definitions out there, 50-50 isn't reality for everyone, 9 to 5 isn't reality. You have to really sit down and think about what is it that makes you happy, what fulfills you outside of the workplace, what fulfills you inside of the workplace, and balance working of that. For me, there's nothing better for me than spending Sunday afternoon at the dog park reading The Economist while my dog runs around. I love that. It gets me started for the next week. I read about what's happening in the world, and I see my dog enjoying life with 20 other dogs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And look, I think there's a lot of core messages in what you were just talking about. 9 to 5 is just really not reality. Nobody who owns a business wants their team working ridiculous hours, but you're right, 9 to 5 is generally not a reality. Define your own work-life balance, stick to it, and make sure you do get out and you do different things rather than being stuck in the office. Is that a fair sort of summary of the things that you do? Yeah, and I think that that's really important.
Yeah.
So if you could describe yourself in but one word, what would that word be?
One word.
One word.
One word. I would say happy.
Happy.
Yeah.
And I would think that would probably be one of the most amazing responses to be able to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think there are that many people in the world who could just quite quietly come out there and say, one word to describe me is happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And clearly you've been successful. You've great social network, do a lot of good fun things, etc. And just overall you're happy. That's really fantastic. All right, so crazy question. Tell us the craziest thing you've ever eaten.
So the craziest thing I've ever eaten is the great unknown of my life. I did part of my MBA in China, and we were out at dinner one night with a multinational organisation and their team. And there was 14 of us in the MBA class, and we were eating something. And we turned to our lecturer and said, "What is this?" And his response was, "It's better if you don't know."
Oh, so you don't know what it was, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us texture. What was the texture like? What would you have thought it might have been?
We were convinced they were Band-Aids.
Really?
It honestly looked like a Band-Aid that's been soaking in soup for a while.
Well, that certainly sounds a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Zrinka, thanks very much for spending some time with us today here at the Download. Most appreciated, and I think you've shared some amazing insights into what it does take to be a great place to work. You've obviously seen a lot out there in the industries, the varying different industries. And what I think that I've picked up throughout this is that the industry doesn't necessarily matter. The consistency across the board is the same. People want for the same in a great place to work. And, if you do things, you do them consistently, you get people aligned with your vision, let them understand what they're doing that makes a difference, how it makes a difference, then it's not the pool tables, it's not the bean bags, it's not those things that make it a great place to work. It's more the others, the formal ones.
That's right.
That's wonderful. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Why don't you ask me that when I ask it to you?
Pardon?
Why don't you ask me that when I ask you the question?
Oh.
I'm not going to
No,
give you
I
that
have
answer
to
now.
prepare myself because I don't have much of a life outside of work. I'll have to make something up.
Well, in that case, I'll say work.
Yeah, let's
Your
go with
choice.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
your choice, Rinka. By the way, he was recording, so that's now going to be an outtake.
Oh, excellent.
The outtake's going to go, I don't have much of a life.
It's right. Look, everyone who knows me is not going to be surprised.